On Halloween Eve, the small town of Willow Creek came alive. Children ran from house to house shouting trick or treat. And pumpkins with creepy smiles and glowing garlands were lining the streets. Sarah, a young woman, lived on the outskirts of town in an old house she had inherited from her grandmother. She didn't like noisy holidays, so every year she turned off the lights and pretended no one was home. But this year was different. Around midnight, Sarah heard a knock on the door. No one was supposed to be there. She muttered, but the feeling of the noise made her go to the front door. On the threshold stood an old doll dressed in a tattered dress, with a dirty face and a strange smile. Sarah looked around. There was no one around. "But who left this?" she asked herself, picking up the doll. Her fingers touched the cold plastic and a shiver ran through her body. Pinned to the doll's chest was a scrap of paper with the inscription "Game On." Sarah shuddered, but decided it was someone's stupid joke. She brought the doll home and left it on the kitchen table. Sleep was not possible that night. She tossed and turned, feeling a strange presence as if someone was watching. As the clock struck 3 in the morning, Sarah heard the creak of a floorboard. Her heart thudded in her chest. She stood up, picking up her flashlight, and walked out into the hallway. There was no doll on the kitchen table. She found her in the living room, sitting on a chair with her head turned sideways. "Is someone in the house?" she shouted, but only silence answered. The doll was now holding another piece of paper. "I'm getting closer." Sarah ran out of the house, grabbing her cell phone. She wanted to call the police, but the phone had no reception. It was strangely quiet outside. The whole town had died out. Even the pumpkins on the neighbors' porches were out. When she returned to the house, she found that all the mirrors were fogged up and each one had writing on it, "You are mine." The doll now stood at the bedroom window. Her eyes seemed to glow with a faint red fire. Sarah moved closer, wanting to get rid of the toy, but at that moment her hands petrified. The doll raised her hand, and a low whisper sounded, "You're a late starter to the game." The next morning, the local children found the door of her house open. On the doorstep sat the doll with a note, "The next move is up to you." Sarah disappeared and was never seen again. And the doll stayed on the porch, watching everyone who passed by. Translated with Deeple. Come free version.